Last year, Ritual Beasts were one of the best rogue decks in the game, largely due to their ability to net numerous pluses and set up powerful boards that could effectively interrupt opposing plays. However, things have changed, both with the departure of two of the three allowable copies of its most important card, Ulti-Cannahawk, and the rise of both Solemn Strike, increasing the vulnerability of the remaining Cannahawk, and the change in the meta with more pendulums and more interrupters and negators. The talents of Ritual Beasts has waned in the current year. So with these changes in the play environment, what do I think is a good build for Ritual Beasts? Looking at the direct support first, as we tend to do, while almost never run at 3 copies, Spiritual Beast Apelio is definitely important in the deck as the principal means for moving Ritual Beasts from the graveyard to the banish zone to increase the searching capacity of Ulti-Cannahawk, in addition to providing additional attack power for the deck that, outside of Ulti-Gaiapelio, sorely needs it. Apelio does not have a hard once per turn limit, just a soft one. Thus, when it leaves the field and returns via a contact diffusion or some other means, it can activate its attack increase effect once again. While 2 copies are usually the number run, due to the general strategy of this deck, I only run 1 copy. While it does not come out until Raging Tempest, I feel it is important to discuss Spiritual Beast Tamer Winda. The more dedicated players seem to be somewhat divided with this monster, which I do not really understand, for the card is quality in my opinion. If it retains its name, it acts as both a Spiritual Beast and a Tamer for fusion and spell trap card effect, which provides valuable versatility. Finally, the destruction effect also increases the efficiency and versatility of the deck, especially for summoning an Ulti-Gaiapelio. Ulti-Gaiapelio does not receive its negation effect when summoned via Winda, but is still a 3200 attacker plus any Apelio bonuses, but Winda can also summon any of the other Ultis, which becomes an automatic +1 in a sense with regards to properly summoning an Ulti-Gaiapelio, which will have its negation ability. When this card comes out, I would run it at 2 copies. Spiritual Beast Rampengu is a quality card. Its effect is similar to Apelio's in the context of providing additional resources for Ulti-Cannahawk searching, but unfortunately it occurs a vast majority of the time at the cost of an Ulti being banished, unless you banish a Pendulum Ritual Beast. At 1600 attack, Rampengu is one of the bigger hitters. The standard build commonly runs 2 or 3 copies, but in this design, once again, I only run 1 copy. Spiritual Beast Cannahawk is probably the most important main deck monster, acting as a Ritual Beast specific Gold Sarcophagus. Again, without a hard once per turn condition, having the same Cannahawk banish multiple cards is highly likely. Cannahawk is the most effective means for setting up multiple Ulti-Cannahawk searches. 3 copies is basically mandatory in all deck builds. Spiritual Beast Pettlephin has lost some usefulness with the advancement and changes in the meta for targeted bounces somewhat frowned upon now. However, it is still a Spiritual Beast, which is helpful in fusion and searching, for that name is important due to the once per turn special summoning condition. In addition, its effect can come in handy in certain situations because of the searching and more summon selective nature of the Ritual Beast build. Therefore, while its effect overall has diminished somewhat, its versatility is still helpful because of that searching capacity. Therefore, it is appropriate to run 1 copy. Zeframpilica is the least impressive Ritual Beast monster, for its monster effect is rather pathetic relative to the general strategy of the deck, and its pendulum standing is almost worthless for the deck as well, similar to almost all Zefra-teched cards. Zeframpilica's effect is rather useless in this deck. The usefulness of Ritual Beast Tamer Wen has increased since the recent ban list due to the unlimiting of Gold Sarcophagus, allowing one to banish a Spiritual Beast, then special summon it via Wen's effect. However, while 2 copies of Wen is usually the standard, due to the structure of this build, I only run 1 copy. Zeframpilica is definitely much better than Wendy, and has basically the same effect of Tamer Lara, but it has a different name, which also increases deck efficiency. Zeframpilica also has some level of interaction with Rampengu when it's in the extra deck, because then it can act as a target for Rampengu, also resulting in sending a Tamer from the deck to the graveyard. 1 copy. Ritual Beast Tamer Elder is a close second in the contest of most important monster in the main deck, for while its stats are rather bad, those are seemingly meaningless. Its effect is what matters. It grants an additional normal summons when it is normal summoned, providing the jumping off point to a vast majority of combinations. 3 copies are pretty much mandatory in my opinion. Finally, Lara compensates graveyard playmaking well, similar to Zeframpilica, as well as being another Tamer name. It is commonly run at 1 copy, as it is in this deck. Ulti-Gaiapelio is the big boss of the deck, and if you cannot clear the opponent's field with removal in the likes of Steeds, it will commonly be the only real means to beat back the opponent, especially in the more attack-heavy modern meta. This guy's negation ability is also high quality because it's usable as long as the fuel exists, and acquiring the fuel is not difficult and commonly an integral step in winning via Ulti-Cannahawk's effect. I run 2 copies because, while 1 copy should be enough, in an era of kaijus, that 1 copy can always get removed, so to speak, and having a 2nd copy does help with Rampengu's effect. Ulti-Apelio is one of the more disappointing fusions because while its 2600 attack was quality last year in 2015, in the 2016 meta, 2600 attack is less valuable. Unfortunately, its quasi-Star Eater effect locks it at 2600 attack, where even when in an environment that is under the effect of its main deck namesake, Apelio, Ulti-Apelio remains at 2600 attack. When attacking, I'm sure there are a number of players, including myself, that look at this monster and just wonder, why couldn't this guy have had an Armades-like effect, or even just not been affected by opponent card effects when it's attacked, not by all card effects? Still, despite this rather meaningless and hurtful restriction, I do run 2 copies. 2600 attack is still 2600 attack. Ulti-Cannahawk is the key fusion monster in the deck for producing resources and advantage, especially helping set up future Ulti-Gaiapelio summoning. Unfortunately, it is limited to 1 copy, which makes it especially vulnerable to summons negators. Run the 1 copy and hope it doesn't get derailed before being properly summoned. Ulti-Pettlephin is the principal defender of the fusions before Ulti-Gaiapelio hits the field, unable to be destroyed by card effect, and having a 2800 body, in addition to the ability to jump out of the way when targeted by effects that might remove it from the field without trying to destroy it. Ulti-Pettlephin is significantly better than its main deck counterpart. Depending on exactly how you want to run your extra deck, and how much you plan to use Rampengu's effect, 1 or 2 copies is fine. I run 2 copies just for the Rampengu dump possibility. Ritual Beast Bond is the only current spell card, and really only serves a purpose for OTKing in my experience. It is reasonable to run 1 copy due to its searchability if that's your preference, but in my experience this card is more kind of a detriment than benefit in a 2016 meta versus a 2015 meta. Ritual Beast Return is another new card that is coming out in Raging Tempest. Return can actually be good in a pure Ritual Beast deck that runs a rather heavy monster count along with 3 copies of Sarcophagus. Without 3 copies of Gold Sarcophagus, the usefulness of Return somewhat drops significantly. For this deck, I would not run any copies of Return though, because it doesn't have a high enough monster count in my opinion. Ritual Beast Steeds is a fantastic interrupter card due to its non-targeting nature that commonly nets at least 2 kills per use thanks to the decontact fusing ability of the fusion monster and the presence of ambush. Steeds is one of the main reasons why Ritual Beast had such a level of success as a rogue deck back in 2015. Ritual Beast Ambush is also a fantastic card, producing the immediate conditions required for an Ulti fusion, and its ability to be activated during the opponent's turn sidesteps, in a sense, the only be special summoned once per turn restriction that dogs Ritual Beasts. Ambush also heavily augments the usefulness of Steeds by producing another 2 monsters on your field, thereby expanding the number of monsters Steeds can destroy by 2. Finally, worst case scenario, Ambush produces 2 defenders to buy another turn. The only non-Ritual Beast monster I run is 1 copy of Genex allied Birdman for additional synchro options, as well as reactivating, in a sense, the Tamer effects. For example, if a Lara is special summoned during the opponent's end phase off of an ambush, and I have Ally Birdman in my hand, I can use Ally Birdman effect to special summon itself, returning the Lara back to my hand. Then I can normal summon the Lara and get that Lara's effect. Birdman, in a sense, helps expand the ability to get Ulti-Gaiapelio on the field with a little more efficiency, in addition to those additional synchro options. For the remaining spells, I run 1 copy of Raigeki and 1 copy of Soul Charge, for the lack of a battle phase does not mean much if you can get your searches via Ulti-Cannahawk, or even expand the play to summoning 1 or even a 2nd Ulti-Gaiapelio to the field. The reason why my monster count is somewhat low is because I run 3 copies of Card of Demise. Now, it can be argued that the no special summon condition of this card hurts the deck, but Ritual Beasts, in my opinion, are generally run one of 2 ways. First turn Explosion, getting Ulti-Cannahawk on the field no matter what, and go search crazy as fast as possible, or set up and stall, leading to an eventual explosion. In this era of Yu-Gi-Oh!, I do not see a lot of value in running Ritual Beast as a first turn explosion deck due to all of the negation and ability of the opponent to neutralize those explosive plays in this type of build. So I feel the stall to an explosion build tends to be more consistent and more successful, at least in my experience. I also run 3 copies of Gold Sarcophagus. Due to the stall elements of this deck, to help support when and general searching, I run the 1 copy of Dimensional Fissure because this deck is not bothered much by banishing as much as other decks, and in the right circumstances can even benefit from it by helping set up Ulti-Cannahawk searches. 1 copy of Instant Fusion for Norden summoning, and the associated free special summoning of a Ritual Beast from the graveyard to set up more combo plays, and 1 copy of Emergency Teleport to, again, expand playmaking by bringing out a Tamer from the deck to support a spiritual beast that might already be on the field. I also like running 1 copy of Book of Eclipse as an opponent play interrupter and another means to cripple already developed boards, because you're not always going to go first. I'm not concerned about the draw-based drawback as much as some other players, because you can definitely play around it, and smart play with Book of Eclipse will typically have you coming out ahead rather than your opponent, despite that potential draw. I run 3 Twin Twisters because obviously you gotta watch out for those Solemn cards, so you need back row removal. Finally, I run 1 copy of Monster Reincarnation. Reincarnation is an interesting card that I don't think gets enough credit in this particular archetype, because not only can it provide a means to return Ulti-Cannahawk to the extra deck, been destroyed somehow, it also provides an opportunity to put a Tamer in the hand to help jumpstart a combo play. The discard is typically immaterial due to the searching capacity and the necessity for combo play making in this deck. Another option, if one is a little squeamish on Reincarnation, is Psychic Path, which for the cost of only 800 life points can add 2 Tamers to your hand from your banish zone. Obviously, I choose not to take the field spell strategy utilizing Oracle of Zephyr, Brain Research Lab, and Terraforming. That's another type of, quasi-engine. I just don't see enough efficiency in it. For the remaining trap cards, I run 1 Macrocosmo, 1 Torrential Tribute, which is very nice in this deck due to the contact fusion effect of the fusion monsters to jump out of the way, and 1 copy of Solemn Warning. Finally, I run 2 copies of some form of summons negation. Obviously, 2 copies of Solemn Strike is preferred, but if you're making this deck in real life and they can't be acquired, Void Trap Holes or Time-Space Trap Holes are definitely quality substitutes. The remaining spots in the extra deck are comprised of the following: 1 Elder Entity Norden, 1 Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier, 1 Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, 1 HTS Syhemoth. I've said it numerous times, I think this is one of the most underrated synchro monsters in the game. 1 number S39 Utopia the Lightning, 1 number 39 Utopia, 1 Lightning Chidori, and 1 Daigusto Emerald for obviously putting Ulti-Cannahawk back in your extra deck if something happens to it. For those without a lot of experience with this deck, the main problem with Ritual Beasts is the lack of explosive setup. Note that almost all of the big combos with this deck demand opening Elder due to the normal summons. For other means of getting the Tamer Spirit Beast combo in the field for fusion purposes commonly involves special summoning or running a card like Brilliant Fusion, and Brilliant Fusion I think promotes significant inconsistency in this deck. At this time, especially until Raging Tempest comes out and you get your hands on that new Winda, the Card of Demise build seems better than the pure build of the deck, because if this build does not open strong, it can get run over very quickly. The Card of Demise build can stall better, mitigating some of the luck necessary to win with this deck against most of the modern meta decks. Overall, while some might suggest that the loss of Ulti-Cannahawk to 1 is the biggest problem for this deck, I would argue that the shift in the meta is a much more substantial issue. Decks are faster and more resilient now than in the past when Ritual Beasts were more successful. Ritual Beasts can still compete, but to expect them to return to their past success if you just returned Ulti-Cannahawk to 3 copies is unlikely. Winda's appearance will definitely help this deck become more competitive. Return, I'm not so sure. I think Return is kind of a big hit or miss card. Either when it works, it looks great. When it doesn't, you want to burn it. Well, that is my Ritual Beast deck. Thank you for your attention and your time. I'm out.